Hello, Westwood family and friends. As you know, we've been doing the 7 sayings of Jesus on the cross, and today we arrive at the third saying. And the third saying is found from John. It's from the chapter 19 and starts with verse 26. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, "Dear woman, here is your son." Verse 27, and he said to this disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. John is the only gospel that tells this part of the crucifixion story. All the other gospels mention that there were many women who had come a long way from Galilee to care for him, but they were watching from a distance. But from this wording, we can easily know that Mary and John were close by, close enough for Jesus to see them together, standing next to each other, close enough for them to hear him. He sees his mother, who by his death will be left without a son as well as a husband. The silence of history on Joseph lets us assume that he's already died. And he sees John, who often was referred to as the disciple whom Jesus loved. So Jesus not only is within sight and hearing of Mary and John, he takes notice of Mary. And he is going to show concern for her, temporal as well as her eternal good. And he says, "Woman." By calling Mary woman, don't for a moment think it was a disrespectful way to address her. It actually was a term of honor. He was not ashamed of her by not calling her mother, but it was, in all respects, said with her best in mind. Why? Because, number one, if he'd called her mother, it would have elicited or brought up deep emotion of a mom's heart and raised her emotional level, and consequently probably added to her pain. And number two, using the respectful woman term, it helped to conceal her from the mob, who was already spitting on him, insulting him, verbally tormenting him. It guarded her from all of that being turned on her. So we continue on with the saying, "Woman, behold your son." He turns his eyes towards John and says, "There is your son. Me you are losing so far as the filial relationship goes, but John in this respect will take my place." In Jesus' dying moments, he's filled with tenderness for his mother. And what is he doing? He's arranging an adopted son to take the place of losing himself. Sometimes, when God removes one comfort from us, he raises up another one for us, where we weren't even looking for it. And number two, he's securing a home for her. 3, he's consoling her grief with the prospect of love and attention from the very one who was the most beloved of all the apostles. And Jesus didn't choose any of his natural brothers for this, but he chose the one of his followers whom he loved most, who had the heart connection in deep and real ways, proven by where they both were when he was on the cross, by the journey they had been through together in following him. What an example of love. Jesus remembers his mom, her grief and heart torture pierced with agony, to see her son going through this, making her welfare one of his last cares on the cross, even while he's atoning for the sins of the whole world. What selflessness. For John, Jesus is honoring John in a way, imparting his own name to John. It's an example of love towards surviving relatives and friends. Office of love? Check. Done. And John, from that hour, took her to his own home, a home with him.